Alright, welcome back. Another project. I don't post much content. I need to, but it takes time. Today, we're working on a 2006 Chrysler Town and Country. And what we've been experiencing, I'll put the light at my front. What we've been experiencing is the front windows going up and down kind of sluggish. And so the driver brought the car to me and said, hey, my driver's side window's not going down, the passenger side sticks and only goes down sometimes. So after further troubleshooting, what I did was I checked to see if the switch was making both of them going down and sending power, and I found where the motor was, pulled the panel off and found the motor, and I just simply tapped the motor and immediately it started working, which told me that there's probably a dead spot in the winding. This is a 2006. It's got 240,000 miles on it, and these regulators have never been changed. So I went online, found some new regulators with the motor, and I decided to go ahead and buy the regulator and the motor because they've went through so many cycles that the passenger side is starting to, it'll go down, but then when you go to put it back up, it wobbles in the frame, which tells me that the track is worn. These are pretty nice. I'll turn the camera around so that you can see. So what we got is, it's a motor and then the whole regulator assembly. And over time they get worn. The window rides up and down in these tracks, and so what we'll be doing is we'll be changing out both sides. I was able to find them on Amazon for like $55 a piece. I went ahead and just decided to replace two of them. That way the individual wouldn't be facing an issue later and have to come back. Wouldn't be worth it for even the cost of labor. And so I'll put a link down in the video on how you can find those parts, and we'll go ahead and move forward with the disassembly and replacing them. So like I said, I verified that the switch is okay. It's the motor that's the issue, and again, these have been working off and on. The owner is a senior citizen, and rather than them fighting with it until the motors completely fail, I figured I'd go ahead and replace them so that, you know, driving up to drive-through or any number of things, they would be able to roll down their windows. So we're going to replace the passenger side and the driver's side respectively. And the first thing we're going to do is just take a screwdriver and slide it up underneath here, and then this switch cluster just pops loose. These types of connectors are not difficult to take loose. So it's going to be like this originally, and you just push that like that, and then engage this right here. If it's difficult, you can use a set of pliers and then it'll pull loose. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take out this screw right here, and we're going to take out this screw right here. And once those two screws are out, there's a series of, what should be a screw down here, but it's gone, because again, this thing has some years on it, so I'm not too worried about that. There's a series of pins, and they're just clips. Now on this specific vehicle, this panel pops out, and what you can do, my cinematography's not great. What you can do is you can either use a long screwdriver and sneak it in, use a long screwdriver and sneak it in beside the panel, and you can kind of see where they're at, and then just pop it loose. This one has already been done. And then what I did was, because I took this apart the other day, these vehicles, when they get older, those pins are going to break when you take it out. You almost can't help it. You can either go to the parts store and buy replacement clips, or I bought this bag on Amazon for just a couple dollars, and this vehicle's almost 20 years old. So all those plastic components, when you take them loose, even if you're gentle, they're probably going to break. And I'll show you how to put these back in the door panel as we reassemble. Now, this panel, just once you pull the pins loose, it slides up, and then it's going to have some things attached to it. There is a mechanical rod. You can see there's a mechanical rod here attached to the door handle, and if we just push this loose that way, it'll fall out the bottom. So push it like that and it comes right out. And then there's that electrical connector right there, and that's for your door locks, and that will come loose pretty easily. Gently pulling those. And then your door panel's loose. Just like that. And these are those connectors. They just pop loose like that. So we'll put new ones in, and they'll engage these holes, these corresponding holes on the door, when we put it back together. Now, this has some sound deadening, this plastic junk. When you pull it apart, you have a couple of options with this. You can gently pull it loose, and then when you're all done, you can just use some tape. Just get some heavy tape, tape it back in there. Or if it's your own vehicle and you don't care, you can rip it out and throw it in the trash. Chances are, if your vehicle's 20 years old, it's probably got some other creaks and groans and you don't care. If you do care, then you'll want to take care of that. And then I'm going to be taking this mirror right here, this speaker out, so that I have more access. And I'll show you once. That just comes out with some Phillips head screws. Alright, so we are at the stage where we want to take the old track system and the motor out. What you're going to see is, through this hole, there's a Torx bit, a Torx screw, through this hole, and then right here. Now, I've already taken these two loose. What I found was there are some clamps that actually hold the window, and that is right here. And so what I did was I connected the motor back up. Now, if your motor doesn't work at all, then you might need to take the motor loose, okay? And that will allow you to move the cable system up and down. If your cable system is shot, then you may end up having to take this loose and or cut these with some side cutters so that you have some mobility back and forth, and you can move the window up and down. Because what you'll find is these clamps, you can kind of see it through this hole, my finger's in there, these clamps clamp onto the bottom of the window, and they're only accessible when they come down this far. There's actually a window so that you can access it right there, but it doesn't line up when this one lines up. And so the Torx bit that you'll want to use, I've got one here. You may have to get a cheap Torx bit set from the parts store. Sometimes they come in screwdriver sets that have multiple ones. This one hooks onto a socket. It was pretty cheap at Harbor Freight. And then these pins right here will pull loose. These will pop loose, and the new motor comes with bolts that will bolt into that door. So I'll go ahead and take these brackets loose, and then once I do, I'm going to slide the window back up, and I'm going to clamp it at the top or have a helper hold it for me while I replace all this stuff, and then I'll drop it back down in so that I can connect it. I realize this may not have made sense, so I went ahead and decided to demo. And so here's your switch, and with the door panel off, you can hook your wires up, make sure your wires are all hooked up, and then your door, it will make it go up and down, and so that'll line it up to where I can go through this hole, and I can access the screw right there. All right, and I just already took this one loose, and then I should have it out in just a minute. Okay, just a helpful tip when you take these off, these things right here, they're actually back in here, you can kind of see, and so what I have found is they're not too hard to get to. Just take a set of side cutters, sneak it in back there, and clip them, and then they'll pop right out. And that's easier than trying to pull on it out here. Okay, now what I found was, and this is kind of a frustrating thing after fighting with it for so many minutes, is that I had to bring the brackets down to this position right here before I could get, while holding the window all the way in the upright position, I had to insert the outer one up in and then down, and this one over here up in this way, and it came just tight, and I could just sneak the bottom of the bracket in. And so if you try, don't get frustrated. Have a helper there if you can. And then these right here, you leave the screws in the hole and loosen them just a little bit, and it's a slotted hole. So you slide it in, and you slide it in. Make sure this is loosened, and then your window drops right down into that cradle. And then all we got to do is take these. That's a bolt, you can see. It'll go through this hole. I'm going to pop this little plastic thing out. I'll do it while I'm showing you so you can see. Alright, it's hard to do with just one hand. And once you pop those out, I'll use a pair of side cutters, that way I can use both hands. And then the bolt should go right through that hole. We'll tighten those down and she should be good to go. Alright, got this on, got it all bolted up, cables in, and now this is what I was talking about, these little clips. The other ones just disintegrated and I had to cut them out. They came out in all different manners of breakage. And so the new clips, these right here, now if you order, I'll drop a link in the description for where I got these clips. They just slide right up in here. Slide right up like right there, and that way you can see where they go. Right there. Just like this. And you can see that they're the right size to go in these holes. Recording with a camera phone. I'll get a GoPro one of these days. I just got to be able to afford it. And this will pop right in there, and then it should be good to go. So I'll shoot a video of me putting the door panel back on. It's a bit precarious. I'll have somebody else hold the camera and show how to put that on. Okay, so we got all the fasteners clipped in here. They just clip in. They're not hard to put in or take out. They just slide in like that. And then what we'll do is we're going to gently, and I decided not to put that plastic back in. I talked to the owner and they agreed it probably isn't doing anything. Make sure that when you get ready to do this, all of your connectors are outside. I've went to put these doors back together before, tried to put this in and ended up with connectors stuffed inside here, and you got to take it all back apart. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come in here and connect my door lock mechanism, and then I'm going to connect my door handle. Again, this just pushes onto the rod like that. This is going to come back through the hole. Now it can be a bit tricky with your door lock, so push it down, that way you'll have a little more room. Comes up through the hole, and then this slides over into this groove. Yeah, I told you it was a bit tricky. Slides over into that groove. I got it started over near the driver's seat. It's in the groove. Everything's right. And then I'm going to just look down in here and make sure that everything is lining up. So it looks like all my pins are lining up. I'm just going to give it a swift hit with a hand, and it's on. Over here, same way. There's a pin. Just make sure Everything's good. Now this is going to go in. When you put this in, this thing is just a locking mechanism. So if you put your in like this, put it like that, and it won't come loose. And this pops back in. And then we're good to go. And on to the next side. Stop it. Good stuff. Now, one thing I realized that I had failed to show on the previous one is to make it easier taking it loose, I just cut the cable, and then everything just came apart, and it was a whole lot easier to get everything out. And then the other thing is, this trim piece, if you pull this out, it just pops out off the edge of the door. You have a lot more room to install the new tracks. And then you just put this in right before you put in the put the door panel back on. And so I'm at the point right now, I just cut the cable loose with a pair of side cutters, and then I disconnected this old one on the passenger side. The cradle that held the window had come completely loose from the plastic piece that held it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the window back up, and I'll have my helper hold it up, and then we can pop this out and slide the new one in.